I have no problem with a person who wants to identify as gay because there's psychological and social and things that are helpful with that. But we have to always remember those three primary identities and focus on those first. Welcome to The Latter-day Lens, your home for faith-promoting, unscripted discussion of current events. If you'd like to contact us, you can send us a text message through the link in the show notes. You could also email us, latterdaylens@gmail.com. If you want to know more about the show, please visit our website, latterdaylens.com. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Latter-day Lens. I'm your host, Matt. With me, as always, is Shawn, and Marc is joining us again. Fresh off the State of the Union, Marc is feeling MAGA happy vibes, and we're going to try and grab some of those today. We have some breaking news that we're going to talk about first. We've invaded Iran, quite unexpectedly, maybe to people who weren't paying attention. Well, let's just get quick reactions. Marc, how do you feel about this?
I feel more confident that this president can get us in and out better than the last few.
Because of what happened in Venezuela?
A bit of that and a bit of his very strong focus on peace and trying to not have war. So if it has to happen, I think he's serious about trying to make it quick and over as quick as possible.
Wait, what was just said? What did you just say, Marc?
I don't know, I already forgot.
Trump is a president of peace. That's what I heard. Trump wants peace and doesn't want war.
Yes.
But he just went to war.
I just said war when you absolutely have to, but if you don't have to, or if you can avoid it, great. If you have to do it, just get it done fast.
Most people don't know this, but the original title of War and Peace was the thing that Marc just said. But they're like, no, that's too
good for.
War. You don't always have to do it, but if you have to, make it quick. Something like that.
Matt, what's our political scientists? Oh, we got one. What's the other response to this?
Yeah, Marc's a political scientist. I would say this. In Venezuela, there was a clear goal. It was go in, grab the guy, get out. And what I've heard so far of Iran, the goal is regime change. And there's no way to do regime change as a quick go in, get the guy, get out.
Well, not with that attitude.
I watched Trump's announcement, and at the end, when he spoke directly to the Iranians, I thought, whoa, that's crazy, because his message was basically, look, it's up to you what to do with your country now. Like, we're going to disable or whatever that means. And that, like you said, that can't be a day task. And if the goal is to specifically disable the dictatorship of Iran, that seems like that seems like there are going to be troops on the ground.
Yeah, I guess my first reaction to all of it was, I wish this was happening in Ukraine right now, because Ukraine was invaded by a foreign power. And you can't tell me that Iran is a greater threat to the United States than Russia has been, either historically or is right now. So, and Russia, by the way, is also weak like Iran is. So if we're going to do that, I wish we would have done that in Ukraine, I don't know, a year ago in the first 100 days when he couldn't negotiate peace in Ukraine. But that's just me being jealous. I should just be happy for the Iranians that have American troops headed their way to blow things up.
Wow. Is that how you feel, that this is a good thing for Iran? I mean, obviously, if the message is, hey, people of Iran, we're giving you an opportunity to take back over your government and to become whatever you want it to be.
What I would say is there is no such thing as two sides in any political fight. And if you do regime change and you get rid of the Ayatollah, there are multiple factions that are excited to take power in Iran, and pro-democratic Iranians are only one of those factions. There's a lot of other people, not only in Iran, but in other countries around Iran, that are excited to go in and take control. And if they can do it peacefully through elections, they would probably do that. But if they can't, then we saw what happened in Iraq 20 years ago. Like, there's no way that you do regime change and it's clean and no problem. It doesn't happen that way.
So this is just the beginning of a bunch of chaos, and one of many factions could win out.
Yeah. I mean, who did Iran attack? Who did Iran retaliate against? They retaliated against other countries in the region that are supportive of the United States, and they're hoping for a regional war. And I think that that's a very likely outcome of all of this.
Who's hoping for a regional war?
Iran. Well, we'll talk more about it later on.
Okay.
But I just wanted to get reactions, and I'm happy that Marc is happy and trusting in his president, right? I imagine all Trump supporters feel that way. They feel confidence in Trump's ability to do the things he says he's going to do.
I mean, he has not let us down too much compared to what he says he'll do than what he does. So
there you go.
But
I mean, he did say he was a president of peace, and then he went to war.
Wow.
He bonked Iran. You got to bonk Iran once in a while. Everyone deserves a little Middle East power play. Georgia W. got 20 years. I mean, give the guy a chance.
Okay, we're going to go to the next listener. So somebody wrote in, you remember last week, Shawn, we talked about the betting market on will the second coming happen
Yeah.
before the end of this year?
Yeah.
So somebody wrote in and said, on the second coming bet, there was a derivative bet of whether the bet on the second coming would go above a 5% chance.
Knock
So
it
people
off.
were betting that he would come to make more money on the other bet. Also another reason to not play the betting game.
Dude, what are you talking about? What are you people doing with their lives and their money? I don't understand.
Gross.
They're betting on whether things will happen.
Why? It's just so crazy to me, man. I must live in a box. I must live in a weird, small, I don't understand, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, another person wrote in that this was actually David, who co-hosts our show from time to time. He said, the entirety of my Wu-Tang knowledge is as follows. Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar, dollar bill, yo. It's actually a pretty good line to drop in the context of IP protection, and I regret that I won't get the chance to use it. Well, there you go.
He just did use it, and that was a very, very amazing reference. The other line I love from Wu-Tang, I'm curious to see if you'll understand this or not. It's an amazing line. It's a reference to the 80s. You ready? How many licks, he says this, I think Richard says it. How many licks does it take for me to get to how many licks does it take for me to find the Tootsie Roll center of a break? Do you know what a lick is and a break is?
It's a Tootsie Pop. That's a Tootsie Pop commercial.
Yeah, but do you know what a lick and a break is in rap?
No, I have no idea. No.
Then it just went past you. Dang it.
Look, even that other, the dollar dollar bill, I've never heard of that I seriously don't know who
you have to, what?
That thing that I read. The thing that I read was the first time I've heard that sentence in my life. Cash rules everything around me. I don't have no idea.
You need to come back here and hang out. We need to hang out longer than just getting an opportunity to go to the USS. Yeah, exactly. So I can teach you some music.
I have not had a donut since I last saw you, Shawn, and it makes me feel... And I didn't even get one when I saw you.
Yeah, I don't like that. You need to come back.
Yeah, have donuts. Okay.
One of the founding members of Wu-Tang just died recently.
Really? Well, and I heard they were nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but I don't know if they'll get in. But maybe that's why they were nominated, because somebody died, and then you have to remember them.
And when I think of Wu-Tang Clan's rap, I think rock and roll.
We can't let this devolve into a Marc versus Shawn debate about Bill. No, not Bill. Who's the born in the... Bruce Springsteen. Bruce Springsteen and rock and roll.
He's been so embarrassing lately.
All right. First up this week, in the 10 to 12 years since the Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage, the number of Americans who identify as LGBTQ has more than doubled. So in 2013, less than 4% of Americans said that they were LGBTQ, and now the number is around 9%. So this is the question. From a Latter-day Lens perspective, what does this tell us about identifying as gay? What role do governments play in promoting or deterring people from identifying as LGBTQ? Is this just like a weird, like it just would have happened anyways? Or was there something about legalizing same-sex marriage that caused this increase in identification?
Here's what I'll say is, what do you call a lesbian on fire? An LGBTQ. Anyway,
that was deep and profound and strongly based in scripture. I don't know if the listeners know this, but Marc is going to be working at the temple later on this afternoon, and I think he's got to get some stuff out of his system before he goes into the temple.
Yeah, all good.
What do you say, Shawn?
That's all. That's Marc's comment. That's it.
Well, no, that was introductory to the topic.
Yeah, he's just getting us started.
I mean, Matt, you taught me that government and law have a giant effect on the moral attitudes of the citizens of the United States. You've taught me that, and I've watched that and watched that and watched that. So when I saw Barack Obama switch his stance on gay marriage, because when he initially was dealing with the issue and the votes in the country were coming to be, Barack Obama's stance was, no, marriage is defined as a man and a woman. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's always been. And then overnight, he reversed that. And when he reversed that, that caused a giant, cultural and moral change that, has led to today. So, what is the reason that it's gone from 4 to 9%? I think that moment right there was a giant reason, which is fascinating. It's not only your question about like, why does this happen, but the effects of government right then and there. There's a huge effect that one person can make, right? We just talked about Yeah. So,
Yeah, I think the same thing.
do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You
since
tell
you
me
were
that.
saying, yeah, I think I would say this: like, you could have predispositions in certain things in your life, but if society doesn't accept those things, or if society tells you that's low status, or if society says you shouldn't do that, then you're not going to be as willing to express those things, right? So, for example, I'm not equating being gay to being a pedophile in any way at all, but just in this particular way, right? Like anything, any identity, being religious, same thing, right? Like, if you have a predispositions towards being a pedophile and society tells you that's gross, that's wrong, that's immoral, don't you dare do it, people aren't going to express that. And same thing with religious persuasions people might have, right? If you have like certain beliefs, certain attitudes, certain ways you think things ought to be, and society tells you that's bad, that's wrong, that's gross, don't do it, then you're going to not express that. And so I think that what this tells us is that governments do have a role to play in whether people are willing to express their identities and whether they're willing to be proud of those identities. And so we make decisions as people about what it is that we value as a society and what it is that we want to say that's something that's okay to do and express, and that's something that's bad to express.
So I mean, that's you've been consistent with that message for so many years. Your question about what does this tell us about identifying? I mean, does it, like, two things have come from it, right? I agree with you that, like, it is much better to live in a society where people are safe to practice their free will. And we live, fortunately, today where people can live without fear, right? I think that's a great thing. That's a really wonderful thing, right?
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Well, yeah. So this is where I'm going to take this that I don't think anyone expected, which is this is why President Nelson tells us that we should embrace three identities. Marc can tell us what the identities is because he listens to President Nelson. What are they, Marc?
They are a child of God, a child of the covenant, and a disciple of Jesus Christ.
And when we let other identities become more important than those identities, we lose our way. So I have no problem with a person who wants to identify as gay because there's psychological and social and things that are helpful with that. But we have to always remember those three primary identities and focus on those first. And any other identity we let get in the way distances us from Heavenly Father.
Yeah, I mean, that's a safe way to. That was a safe way for Matt Miles to say something profound, I think. What do you think about, again, when you ask the question, what does it inform us about identifying as gay? The other thing it's done is that on top of expanding, it's enabled I guess our culture to expand beyond just homosexuality and gay marriage to grow this, and popularize this LGBTQ, these doctrines, I guess. And it has definitely encouraged growth and more alt identities in culture. So that's an effect that happens probably no matter what, right? The more freedom we have, the more, I guess, the more people are going to embrace freedom and do all the things that they want to do, right?
Well, and I'm not saying it's necessarily bad to identify as gay or lesbian or transgender. Like, if I didn't have the gospel of Jesus Christ in my life, and you came to me as let's say a psychologist, and you said, "Look, you need to embrace these other identities more than your transgender identity." Like, if society does not equip people with the tools that they need to adopt, let's say, more healthy, spiritually healthy identities, then I'm not going to fault society for adopting other identities that are helpful to people, because people have to find a way to cope with some of the psychological challenges and the trauma that they're dealing with in life. And so, to the extent that religion is pulling away and not giving people the things that they need to cope with these challenges, then we're going to see other things that happen in society. So I'm not saying it's bad for somebody to say they're gay. In fact, there's evidence to say that it's a healthy psychological thing to do. But what I would say is we're way better off as a society. So if it's true then that government helps people like adopt certain identities, then shouldn't we, Shawn, as a government, as a society, say we need to help people embrace the more healthy identities of child of God, child of the covenant,
as the
disciple
government
of Jesus Christ?
From the government standpoint, huh? That's what you would say.
I mean, that's what we're like. On the one hand, we say governments can make it easier to adopt identities. So then why shouldn't we say make it easier to adopt these identities?
So how, in your mind, would the government do that?
There's the Ben Franklin approach, the religion of all, that there is somebody above, they are some paternal figure, and there will be judgment after this life. If we can all get on board with that, okay, we can work with that. We can start playing around.
I would bring religion back into schools, back into public schools.
Okay.
That is not what I expected.
No, I didn't expect that either. But I
The
like
man
it.
gets the points, all of the points. I'm finally doing it.
Wow, Matt, what a day! Holy moly!
I never thought I'd get points from Marc. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, then we're done with that topic. There's nothing else to do. Let's move on. Okay.
I barely got to say anything. I made a joke.
Marc, go ahead. Tell us. I want to give you my
No,
points.
no, it's all right. Go ahead. I'll just eat my eggs. Here's what you do: garlic chips and some butter. Pour the eggs on top. Bob's your uncle. Phenomenal.
I love
Please
it. That's
carry on.
great. That's not quite the second topic, but I like the segue.
No.
Okay. All right. In the 1982 case Nixon v. Fitzgerald, the Supreme Court ruled that a president has absolute immunity from civil lawsuits for any actions taken within the outer perimeter of their official duties. This means that you cannot sue a president for policies or executive decisions they make while they're in office. This is because the court said that the president holds a unique constitutional role as chief executive, and private lawsuits could uniquely hinder effective government functioning. But now we have President Trump, who is suing the government that he leads for billions of dollars. So this is the question. Is this a conflict of interest? Should a president be allowed to sue the government he's running while in office?
Great and complicated question. I want to hear Marc.
And then you save the yolk for the last bite, and it's like just so good.
Oh my gosh. Hey, focus, Marc. Focus. Focus, man. Focus.
I need a few seconds to think about it. I think that it is a weird choice, but depends on what he does with things. We know he's not accepting his paycheck. He'll get it and then give it to some Department of Veteran Affairs or something. So I'm sure if he sued and won billions of dollars, it would just go right back to government somewhere, some helpful route. And I don't know. It's a complicated thing. Does he have any kind of a case? Maybe. Government's been stupid.
He is suing the IRS for $10 billion.
They're the worst.
Well, he's the president of the United States. If he doesn't like what the IRS is doing, put somebody in charge of the IRS that will make them not be the worst. He chose the head of the IRS.
Allow that?
Of course, Congress is allowing him to invade Iran right now. Of course, Congress is going to allow him to fix up the IRS and make things better.
The 1970s, Congress is allowing him to attack Iran, but the today Congress, they're stopping him at every possible step. These people.
How are they stopping him? We are bombing Iran as we speak.
Because of the presidential, was it the military?
The war powers?
Whatever. Thank you.
Okay.
So they can't do anything right now. But he says, hey, let's cut the income tax. I'm sure Congress will raise a stink, and there will be some single solitary judge in California. They'll say, not allowed to do that.
But can you see, Marc, where there could be a problem that the president of the United States, who chooses who's going to run the IRS, sues the IRS, and then negotiates a settlement with the IRS as the boss of the agency he's suing? Like, that seems like a conflict of interest to me, that perhaps I shouldn't be able to sue something that I'm in charge of. Why?
Let me throw one more thing, and then Brother Shawn. But Benedict, not Cumberbatch, but Arnold, he goes to George Washington. He says, they are casting all these aspersions at me. What do I do? And he says, apply for a court-martial. And that way, everything's out in the open. So Donald Trump, sue the IRS. That way, we get everything out in the open. All these documents have to be given to the public, and we can finally see what's going on in there. It's a thought.
What do you say, Shawn?
I don't understand it, man. Like, why? To me, it's if you say it's a conflict of interest there, then why isn't it a conflict of interest to not be able to sue the president? Why? I mean, explain that to me. And do you agree that a president of the United States should be able to be sued as well?
I think that we should be able to sue the president of the United States 100%. But I think that no president should be allowed to sue the government that they run. There's nothing about that makes any sense to me.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, man. Especially from a libertarian standpoint, that's a lot of power that you give individuals. Yeah, I'm with you, man. Matt, you're getting points all day today, all day.
Yes. That's fine. I'm giving myself points then. You
okay.
People,
all right.
Hey, like the president said, these people are crazy.
Marc, be honest. Be honest. If this was 2.5 years ago and this question popped up, would you be like, yeah, sue that president, sue that old guy? And I mean, you picking sides here?
No. I really think it's a reasonable thing to not be able to sue the president unless it's a direct, personal, something. Like he personally says, I do not like Marc. I'm going to shoot his house. Okay, I could sue for that. But
I'm giving Mark the points because he used Benedict Arnold as an example of what we ought to do. The the most famous traitor in the history of the United States.
this was pre-treason, I want to point out for those at home.
Allegedly pre-treason. George Washington's apparently told him to have a court-martial to get things out in the open, and then eventually, once things were all out in the open, he was gone. So
it takes a little while. It was, there's multiple issues at play.
there are so many historical comparisons people make between Donald Trump and, I don't know, like Hitler and all kinds of awful people. And I like when Mark compares Trump to Benedict Arnold. I had good times, bad times, whatever times. When Mark's going to compare him to Benedict Arnold, Mark's going to get the points for that because I thought that was awesome.
Mark has a master's in history and knows what he's saying. Benedict Arnold was not a bad guy when that part of things happened. And there you go, Lottie.
Amazing.
I appreciate the historical nuance. I think it's great. I love it. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's go to the last news story. After the Supreme Court ruled that Trump's tariff policies violated the law this last week, he announced, was that?
Nerds.
He announced new 10% global tariffs on virtually every country in the world. Shawn has been supportive of Trump's tariff policies because he thinks it helps negotiate better trade policy. The question is this: does Trump's response suggest that tariffs aren't really about trade policy? They're just a way to shift the tax burden away from the wealthy and towards the working class by imposing a 10% sales tax.
Yeah, you're going to have to explain that to me. And my stance has always been, let's just see. I think what he's doing with these tariffs, because it was all so very confusing, was using it as a negotiation tactic. And I think there was some evidence that it was working for him to accomplish the things that he was trying to accomplish, good or bad. But you'll have to explain to me why this looks to you like it's simply an imposed 10% sales tax on Americans. Why does it look like that to you?
Because if you put a 10% tariff on everything, on every country in the world, then what possible negotiation are you getting? What advantage does that give you if everybody has to pay, if everything from every country has to pay 10%?
Oh, I see. You're saying there's no like individual, like, okay, I need to negotiate with Canada differently than with whatever
China
Britain.
or Mexico.
He's not using it as a negotiation tactic at all. He's literally just saying we want to charge him money for.
Yeah.
I see.
And the other thing is, like, the countries that negotiated a tariff with him after he put those first tariffs on, then they're stuck. They have to pay this higher tariff in some of those countries. So he's negotiated a set trade tariff with, let's say, the United Kingdom, but now, like, Jamaica has a 10% tariff, and so what you're saying to countries is negotiating with Trump isn't necessarily a good idea, because when Trump puts a tariff on you, it might stay, it might not stay. The courts might get rid of it, but then you're stuck with this higher tariff. But if you don't do anything, if you ignore him and you do nothing, you're going to end up in the exact same spot as every other country in the rest of the world. So that's not a negotiations tactic. That's not a strategy that helps U.S. trade or exports or anything like that.
I mean, you could tell in his reaction to being overturned or whatever, he was pretty frustrated with that. So I'm assuming it's just the lack. They took the rug from underneath him. His ability to do that, use that as a negotiating tactic, just failed, and so I think that's why he's freaking out about it. But I don't know that his motive
why
is
would you
to
put 10%?
Tax the middle or lower classes.
Well, if you say I'm going to go a 10% import tax on everybody, then there's nothing to that other than we're just going to make everybody pay more taxes.
I think he's trying to flex and show, no, I still do have some control here to implement.
Well, why not just do it to the countries he already did it on? Why do it on every single country in the world?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't know. Mark, what do you think? Why not?
There's a great quote from Abraham Lincoln when he says, "I think the hen is the wisest of all creatures. She never cackles until the egg is laid. Give it time, see what happens."
Well, what's happened is there's a 10% tax increase on everything we buy.
Yes, I'm aware, but it just started, so give it some time, see what happens.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this, Mark, because this is just in the context of you were saying that Trump does the things he says he's going to do.
Mostly.
Did he signal that he was going to raise taxes on people when he was running for president?
See, here's the thing. You're assuming that this 10% tariff will just automatically bump down to the people, but the tariffs he has been putting out generally have not been passed down to the people, but have brought in revenue and have helped America for the most part. It's brought jobs in, He's got trillions of dollars of investment put into America, so I don't see the tariffs having been passed to me personally, nor did most of the people I know. So why this new tariff will suddenly just, well, now it's a tax? I don't know about that.
Well, a tariff is by definition a tax, right?
Well, yes, but I'm just saying it's not going to be passed to the consumer just yet because the last ones weren't.
Hmm.
Just wait and see.
You don't think that those last tariffs were passed on to the consumer, like in the
I,
in the increased cost of goods?
nah,
Hmm.
everything seems normal to me.
Okay. Well, to me,
Yeah. I think, Matt, if you're just going to jump to the conclusion that it is literally just a tax on the American people, I mean, it's definitely
it
a tax
is.
on the it's a tax on the manufacturers, in China, for example, or in Canada, but it doesn't necessarily mean that people will buy their goods at higher prices and get passed along to them. So I kind of agree with Marc. Like, we have to. I'm not an economist, and I'm sure our economists listening will freak out about this, but I kind of agree with Marc. I don't see as huge of an impact on the goods and services that affect me or the middle class or the lower class. Is that ignorance, or do you think, Matt, is there evidence that it really, really has affected the lower class and they're carrying a much higher tax burden? Is there evidence of that?
Yes, there's a lot of evidence of that.
Where? What evidence?
The economists say that Trump's tariffs have increased the tax burden of Americans by $1,700 a year in the last year.
Name one economist. They don't exist.
I mean, I'll have to put the link in the show notes, but that's what the estimate is that Trump, on average, Trump's tariffs cost Americans $1,700. This is the other thing that Trump has done to try to offset the impact of those tariffs is you look at the strength of the dollar globally. The United States dollar right now is weak, but I think it's 10% weaker than it was when he started. So what he's doing is he's devaluing the US dollar so that US exports become more attractive overseas. So what that means in real dollars is that I can purchase less. If I go to another country or if I buy goods from another country, those things become more expensive. And so, but what I would say about this 10% tariff is so first of all, I would say this. It's true that we collected, I think, $200 billion in new tax revenue because of Trump's previous tariffs. But now all that money is going to have to get refunded. And so we're already $1 trillion in debt each year. We add $1 trillion to the national debt with Trump's budget. And those tariffs were helping to offset that. But now that money is gone. And so the deficit is going to increase under Trump. And so I think that he's trying to find a way to say, to offset that the impact on the deficit, because Republicans oftentimes say we don't want to have a big debt and a big deficit. And so I think this is his way to do it. He would rather have it be sales tax than have it be people paying income tax. And so, like, to me, a 10% tariff on every country in the world is nothing else than a 10% sales tax, because
Yeah, I mean,
very few things in the United States are completely created in the United States.
Yeah, I'm
And
seeing.
Freedom.
I'm finding the evidence of your statement, Matt. Average households It's estimated that tariffs have effectively acted like a household tax of roughly $1,000 in 2025. So I'm verifying your report. So yeah, that's interesting. That is interesting.
And again, the tariffs he did last year were targeted in certain ways. He was focused on certain countries. He was focused on certain industries. He was focused on certain things he was trying to negotiate. But 10% on everybody doesn't create any incentive for somebody to take that tax themselves, right? If I'm in Jamaica and I'm selling marijuana to the United States, as an example, I don't know, whatever, I can't necessarily afford to take that hit. And so that tariff is going to get passed on to the end user in the end. I'm not
What
going
was
to.
the example you chose to give, Matt?
Marijuana. I heard
Okay.
Jamaica has good marijuana. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, who knows, right? Let's say it's hacky sacks. I don't know what Jamaica produces. But if I'm any country in the world and every other country has the same 10% tariff.
That was really racist of you, what you just did.
It was?
Yeah. No, but Matt, if it's I'll go with Marc and say, let's wait and see, because if it's going in the direction that you've just cited and you've given some evidence for, it seems like a 10% tax will actually raise the income of, or the tax burden of the American citizens. And if that's the case, this is going to be a huge backfire for Donald Trump, won't it?
Well, my thing is, it's less about, oh, Donald Trump's done it again, but it's more about that Supreme Court. What a bunch of jackwagons.
Mark, did you happen to read the law that he was using to impose those tariffs?
No, I didn't have the time for that.
Okay. Well,
But you're a loyal Trump fan.
The man knows what he's doing.
This is
A
the
lot
other
of
thing I'll
guards.
say about this particular law that he's now using for the 10% tariffs. He only has like 250 days before he has to get congressional authorization for these tariffs to stay. So it's like anyone who's excited about these tariffs, again, it's not going to lead to any kind of big negotiation because countries around the world have learned Trump's tariffs don't stick around for very long. So fine,
Matt,
it might be 10% for 4 months and then it's going to
Matt,
go away.
Matt, why is the Democrat Party so ineffective? Like I've never even heard until now, and I try and look at the other side, the news sources from the other side. This is the first time I'm hearing that there's $1,000 to $1,300 tax burden that the Americans are carrying because of Trump's tariffs. Why isn't that the headline that these knuckleheads are putting out there? Like I don't understand, Matt. Why are they so bad at politics, the Democrats?
There is a House member from Florida. His name is Jared, I think. Moskowitz.
I hope that you didn't. I was so remote and unknown that you just called him Jared. There's a Democrat lawmaker named Jared. Okay.
It might be Josh Moskowitz.
Oh, it's Jared or Josh. Okay.
This guy is hilarious. So anyhow, there is a Democrat out there that is great. And if he was the messenger for the Democratic Party, they would do a lot better off. But unfortunately, they like Chuck Schumer out there or Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders.
Ew.
And yeah, people don't love them. But this guy, Moskowitz
Incredible,
from
man.
Florida, man, he's hilarious.
All right,
I'm
I'll
going to
check
start
him
sending you his YouTube clips, Shawn.
out. Okay, I'll do it. Please do it.
He's great.
Okay.
Who gets your points on this one, Marc?
I'll keep them for myself, I think.
That's okay. Hey, I got points from you twice. I'm giving points to Shawn. Shawn came ready to battle on this one. That was good, Shawn. Shawn, they're doing construction at Shawn's house. You guys might not know this. Shawn lives in a McMansion right now, but he needs a guest house attached to his mansion, and they're doing it right now, right next to where Shawn's at. So that's
Yep, there's the noise for it.
Well,
That's
I don't know if our program's going to be able to edit that one out. That was pretty.
That's what wealth sounds like. That's the San Diego wealth talking there. Okay, let's get to the big question. Christian nationalist is a set of beliefs centered around white American Christianity's dominance in most aspects of life in the United States. Despite its growing influence on conservative education, immigration, and healthcare policies, about 2/3 of Americans reject or are skeptical about Christian nationalism. Yet, people who believe in Christian nationalism are becoming the dominant force in the Republican Party, and many people in LDS states identify as Christian nationalists. So this is the big question. Is Christian nationalism consistent with LDS scripture and the teachings of Latter-day Prophets?
I mean, I don't. Christian nationalism seems like the stupidest title, and it does seem like something that it is like there's no way something like this, if it's truly the way you're describing it, if it really is all about like, is it literally like white supremacy?
No. Okay, so there's white Christian nationalism and then there's just Christian nationalism, but it gets fused in a way that's hard to separate. But like,
But
if I were to say, how do we measure it?
Are there no black Christians that like America? Is Ben Carson supporting white nationalism or something?
Well, so there's some of them that says that it has to be white, right? That they would say that the black Christians aren't part of it. So let's just take
wait a
the
minute.
race part. Let's take the race part out. Let's just say
Wait.
Christian nationalism.
The race part was the whole core of your question.
No.
Mhm.
Let's forget about white America's dominance. I'll explain how we measure Christian nationalism because it doesn't have race in it, right?
Well, now who's we? Do you got a mouse in your pocket?
Well, social
Go ahead.
scientists, when we
Okay, go
measure Christian nationalism, right? Because I've measured it for the book that I wrote because I wanted to look at like how does religion influence people adopting Christian nationalist beliefs. But the idea, like if you agree with statements like America is a Christian nation, the federal government should do things to promote Christianity in American society, those kinds of things we would call Christian nationalism, right? This idea that America is a Christian nation, and when we bring in other religions and other views from other parts of the world, that ruins like America's Christian like foundation and like who we are as a country. That broadly is Christian nationalism. Some people will put these race components in it. So let's just set that aside because obviously racism is not part of the restored gospel. But do we believe that, like, for example, that Christ intends for America to be a Christian nation? And do we believe that our country was set up as a Christian nation? Or Do we believe that our country was set up as religious liberty, religious freedom, separation of church and state, that sort of stuff? So people who would say our nation was founded on the ideas and principles of religious liberty would be different than the ones who say our nation was set up to be a Christian nation and we should promote Christianity and Christian views and Bibles in the schools and all of that sort of stuff.
Article of Faith 11, we claim the privilege of worshiping Almighty God according to the dictates of our own conscience and allow all men the same privilege, let them worship how, where, and what they may. How does that not inform us perfectly on what...
From the historical perspective, America was founded with religious liberty so that you could worship Christ however you wanted to.
Yeah, but you think that's the intention of the Article of Faith? You literally think that means as long as you're Christian?
No. I wasn't quoting the article. I was quoting American history.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. That's actually one of the challenges is historically both things are true, right? That we were founded by Christians for Christian religious liberty, but people will go back to history and cherry pick the stories they want to tell to further and advance their particular views for today. Do you think that this Christian nationalism stuff is consistent with the gospel, Marc?
It's oh boy, 50-50-ish, because you do have the Book of Ether and Third Nephi. Basically, if they will worship me, then good, and if they don't, oh, look out, baby. That's an exact quotation from Ether, I think.
Well, and
Perfect.
that's the promised land stuff, right? When I read the Old Testament, it's the same kind of promised land. Like God gives the children of Israel permission to destroy certain people because they no longer were following God. And so he wiped them off the face of the earth. Or the Jaredites.
Yeah,
right?
but Matt, I think there's so many scriptures also that talk about how cherished our gift, this God-given, godlike gift of agency is. And how can you truly have agency if your government is dictating or is applying or telling you what religion you're supposed to practice? I don't know. To me, scripture is very, very clear about it. No?
Yeah, I think it's clear about it. I think that we believe in religious liberty and religious freedom. I think the Latter-day Prophets are really clear about that.
But what is the message of Christian nationalism? Is it everyone needs to convert to Christianity, or is it no, we just need to apply the Christian principles to our secular government as well?
I think Marc articulated it pretty well. It's the idea that if we no longer are a nation that worships, reveres, respects Jesus and God, then we lose our special status in the world. Do you think that's a fair way to say it, Marc?
Yeah. I mean, pointed out this way too. You look at TV in America, and you can say the GD, you can say JC without any problem. But some of these other curse words, or dare I even say the high hobby horses of American secular society, you can make all the jokes about Jesus you want, but you could never make fun of, say, the Holocaust or 9/11 or transgender people. Heavens no. But oh, you want to make fun of Jesus? Go ahead. Nobody cares.
Matt, this will make you happy. I've just discovered on YouTube Highway to Heaven.
Oh, that's a good show. Yeah, Michael Landon.
Well, I knew you'd love that show.
Yeah.
There's no way something like that could be made today or popularized or mainstream today. There's no way, right? Because it's a Christian, literally a faithful Christian TV show that went mainstream in the 90s or 80s.
Sure.
But I'm sure the Christian nationalists would say, yeah, if the government was focused on Christianity, then there could be mainstream content like that would be accepted today. Is that kind of
Yeah, well, so I think that there are all of those elements that make it feel like Christian nationalism is consistent with our theology because we are all good people who want to see good things in society. But the elements of Christian nationalism that frighten me are the ones where when I realize that my evangelical friends don't think of me as Christian. And to the extent that I support bringing Christianity back into American society, then that gives license to exclude people like me. Because even though I'm a Christian and consider myself a Christian, there's a majority of other Christians that don't define me that way. And so I think this is why we need to be like firmly on the side of religious liberty.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, man.
Points to Brother Miles.
The Lord's approach to spreading Christianity is not through politics. It is through beautifully ordained young people who are out doing the work. It's through the members. It's through the Latter-day Saints who are supposed to share and spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, right? That's how Christianity should spread. That's the Lord's way, not through government.
But we all
Points to both of you.
cheered about teaching religion in schools.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take it back then. I take it back,
Well,
Matt.
no,
I'm taking nothing back. I'm in, baby.
I think that I think you can teach religion in schools in a way that promotes religious liberty.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's what you meant, and I do agree with that. Yeah, I don't think that we should be like teaching specific religions in schools. Absolutely. Yep, I'm with you.
You know, I'm trying to transition, not that one, but transition careers, and I really want to get into teaching. And the thing is, in today's society, you try to teach very secularly, but I think you have to, if you're doing the history, you have to teach about Christianity and
Yes.
how it's influenced the world. And that's the problem, is how it's portrayed too often is, like I said, oh, you can't joke about these things, but go ahead and make fun of Jesus. We need to give it respect and teach a whole generation that you don't have to be a Christian, but respect it.
Well
And
said, Mark.
respect Islam and respect Hinduism.
Well said, Mark.
Hey, look at me. We all get some points then, huh? Come on.
Yeah, I agree. But I want to build on what you're saying a little bit, Mark.
No, I had my eggs. We're done. It's good.
I feel like when we say separation of church and state, then what we say is a person who holds an official government position should never talk about their faith. Like, that's how we often define separation of church and state. But I think that when we say to like an elementary school teacher or a high school teacher or a college professor, you are not allowed to share your religion in the classroom. You're not allowed to share the things that matter most to you. I think that we harm society. I think that we need to teach people that if my professor happens to be Muslim and he's going to spend his time preaching from the Quran as part of some lesson because that helps provide the context that's important to him, then I can benefit from that. Even if I'm not Muslim myself, I can listen to other people share their faith. And so to the extent that government says, keep all of that moral stuff out of the classroom, keep all of that moral stuff out of government, we do a greater harm to society than good. Because whatever faith Marc happens to have, we share a faith. But even if we were a different faith, Marc isn't who he is unless he's able to share that with other people. He's not able to like reach out and touch, like reach out and help and lift and build and all that stuff if he's not able to be true to who he is. And so I think that when I say bring religion into society, I'm not saying pass laws that say put the 10 Commandments in the classroom. I'm saying pass laws that allow teachers and administrators and individuals to feel like they can be true to who they are with their religious beliefs, because that benefits everybody in society in better ways.
I love so much what you're saying, Matt. You're preaching it, and this is the true political scientist. This proves that your whole education is not in vain, Matt. So when you do stuff like that was just awesome. I love what you just said. That would be a dream come true. I love how you defined it. I've never really thought of it in those terms. That is a beautiful way to do it. I love it. Well done, Matt.
Clearly, the State of the Union also impacted you.
I love it.
Just going to throw out separation of church and state. It's not in the Constitution, so they should stop using it.
That's true. That's true.
I'm too late for that. I kind of killed the vibe.
Jefferson is the one. Jefferson is the one that created this wall of separation idea, and
with private letter to a minister saying we won't go after you guys. And
where was Jefferson when they wrote the Constitution, Marc?
France being stupid.
That's right. So it's true. People grab onto these ideas in history, use them how they want to use them, and they don't even realize where they really came from.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me this week. It was good to have you. Listener, all kinds of fun things this week. I hope you got to hear some of the construction at Shawn's house. And I hope that you get to see this video of Marc's eyes and the times when he reached out and touched the phone at a certain point in the podcast. If you got to see that, you're so lucky. If not, let us know. I'd definitely like to know what you think about these topics. Feel free to text us and reach out to us via email if you want. And we'll talk to you again next week. It's always sad to say goodbye, but we hope you'll join us again next week. New episodes drop each Wednesday. In the meantime, subscribe to the podcast, give us a like, and visit our website for past episodes. You can comment on the show at realmormonism@gmail.com. Thank you for making us one of the most listened to podcasts. We love our listeners.